everybody. I am back with December Daily 2024, story number 16, and third time's a charm. I think this is the third time I've recorded this video, so hopefully this one works. The first one, I literally talked through the entire video and apparently didn't hit record. The second time, I thought everything was fine, and then I published it not realizing that I my voice in the recording crackled the entire time. So hopefully this one it will do the trick and we can get this recorded and out to you guys. So anyway, basically what I'm doing here is I am going to be doing a page with my husband, a bowling picture, and a workout personal record thing that I made over the holiday season. And I thought because they kind of both were exercise related, I put them on the same page. They really didn't need their own independent spread, so I put them on one page just to kind of cover everything this way. So what I'm doing, because there was some of this writing on here and I just didn't want that to be showing, it was just too distracting, I'm taking some white gesso and I'm just covering up the words, and I'm covering them up more on this right side. I didn't realize I was going to be covering up so much of this side, but I wanted to do a little thicker because I thought more was going to show, and I did a little bit thinner on the left because I knew a photo was going to be going there at the time. So basically, I am just covering this with a relatively thin coat of gesso, and then I'm going to dry the page before I start using it. And I'm going to be taking out some old Jane Davenport ink pens. I was pulling things out of my stash and I wanted to use something to color this page. And I don't think I've ever used these Jane Davenport pens. And I was super happy to use them. If I did use them, it was more like to swatch them, not to actually use them in a page. So I pulled out these two colors. And what I was curious about is if you guys have things in your stash like that, like you have a bunch of stuff in your stash. You probably think you should just stash it because you've had them in your stash forever. You're not using them, but you're like, no way, I'm going to get rid of these because I'm definitely going to use them sometime. And then years and years and years go by and you never use them. Well, that's how these are for me, except I finally use them. So let me know in the comments below if you guys have a situation like that where you have a lot of stuff in your stash and you're good with getting rid of some things, but there's just certain things that you're like, no, I'll totally use that sometime. I can't get rid of those. So I just had to have these Jane Davenport inks when they came out, and I thought I was going to use them all the time, and like literally, I don't think I've ever used them. So this time I am using the pink and the green. There was a lot of blue, greens, and pinks in the photo of my husband bowling, so I thought this would be really nice on this page. Also, the images on this page are kind of a hot pink, and I thought that all kind of blended nicely together, so that's why I chose the colors that I chose this time. So what I'm doing is just putting some of the color down and using just a little bit of water. The gesso is going to have a little barrier between the paper and the paint so that the paint flows nicely, but I just still don't want to put too much water on the page because it will still buckle. So I'm trying to use as least water as possible, and then I am drying the layers in between so that I don't get too much of a muddy mess. Now I do like how these layer over each other because they are a transparent ink that they do layer very nicely. So you're going to see some fun colors, almost like a purple colors, where the pages or where the colors meet. And I do really like how that looks, but it doesn't look like a muddy mess. So that's why I decide to dry them in between. So it's more layering on top than blending together, if you will. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to put it everywhere I think it needs to go. And then I keep using my photos to see if it is where I like it and how I like it peeking through some of the page parts of the photos and things. Just using a wide craft brush and some water on this. So while I am doing this, I will make sure, like I said, that it's going to come over the edges so that you can kind of see it peeking through, because a lot of this is going to get covered up with the photos and stuff that I'm going to be putting on the page. So while I'm doing that, I just wanted to say thanks again for joining me. Hopefully you're enjoying the series. And if you are, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I do have about, let's see, 4 or so more stories that I'm going to be posting, maybe a few more. I can't quite remember. I think I have up to story 21 that I'm going to be posting videos on. After that, it is Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and I'm kind of at the point where I just want to kind of get them done, and I just don't feel like filming those particular pages, but I definitely will do a flip through of the entire book when it's complete, so definitely stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, like I said, I'll have up to story about 21 to share with you guys, and I will have those posted hopefully in the next several days over the next week or two. So if you, like I said, if you're enjoying it, just give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you are enjoying it. Also, let me know what you're currently working on. Are you trying to finish up your December daily? Have you actually finished and you're working on your next project? Did you never do December daily? Just let me know in the comments below. I'm curious what you guys have been up to. And I am really hoping, and I think I've said this in other videos, I've recorded a lot of videos recently, so I apologize. But I am really hoping to get more videos up this year. Last year, I really just did Etsy share videos from albums and books that I've made to put on my Etsy shop. And I haven't really done a lot of process videos, and I'm really hoping to do more this year. It just kind of depends. It's just hard. Um, I have more free time during the Christmas time because my daughter's not in school. I'm not working as much. It's just kind of slower from that aspect. And I just have a lot more motivation. I'm more calm. I'm less anxious during that time, which I think is the opposite for some people, but it just works better for me that time. So I have more time to devote to scrapbooking and doing Etsy, not Etsy shares, but doing voiceovers and things like that. And once school starts back up, which it did, today was the first day back after Christmas break and then a bunch of snow that we had. Um, it sometimes gets a little bit overwhelming. My daughter has been doing really well in school, but this past semester she's just been struggling a lot. She has some very difficult classes, and it's just really difficult. And she has made some great improvements, but she is still struggling. So, it always takes a toll on mamas. So, um, especially me, I don't know. It just really, I'm like always worried. I want to make sure she's doing a good job and she's not too stressed out. So, that just takes a lot of my energy. So I don't find as much time to scrapbook just because I am out of energy, not because I don't literally have time. But anyway, back to the layout. I'm just going through the snow and cocoa paper pad. And I like the colors. I thought they went really well with the picture and the background. And I really like this kind of Mexican blanket looking like paper. So I'm going to cut this down and I'm going to mount that photo of my personal record there from my workout on this paper. And I am also going to mount the photo on a bit of pink cardstock. And what I want to tell you about that a little bit, you're not going to see the storage, but one of the things I recommend for paper scraps is to house your paper scraps, like especially your maybe your colored cardstock, not necessarily your pattern paper, but if you organize it by color, especially if you're a color thinking person, that super helps. What I want to do when I'm scrapbooking is not have to think too much and have to rifle through too much stuff. So if I can make it very efficient for myself, I want to do that. So what I tend to do with my plain cardstock is I will organize it by color. So I'll put like reds and pinks together, yellow and oranges together. And then when I go to that drawer, it's like a little plastic Sterilite type of container. Then all I'm doing is I can look through and all of its pinks and reds. I don't have to be looking through greens and blues and browns and everything else, and everything's just stacked together. Plus, it just helps because my pile isn't as big because I have them separated out into the color kind of categories. So I highly recommend doing that if you are a color kind of person. I actually did that with embellishments too when I did a lot of Project Life. I really kind of thought in color. So I have a lot of my miscellaneous embellishments stored by color. So again, just reds together, yellows and oranges together, and so on. And I find that super helpful. And it makes my process of getting the supplies ready for the layout so much faster. So if you're like me and that seems to work, you might want to try that out. And you can do the same thing with like pattern cardstock as well, like pattern paper. So if you have, I actually have pattern paper that's miscellaneous paper in color category as well. And then, or I'll have it in collection. So like if I have things that go together, then I keep those together. But anyway, that's kind of how I do things. I would actually like to do a video of my craft room sometime soon. I actually had a craft room down in my basement when we moved in, but my daughter has since moved downstairs. And again, I can't remember if I talked about this in another video or it was this video that didn't record my voiceover very well. So I apologize if this is a repeat story too, but I moved craft rooms and I'm upstairs now in her room, which is much smaller. And I never did a video of the previous craft room in the basement. So if you guys are interested in like a craft room tour, let me know. I do like making those and I absolutely love watching other people's craft room tours. So let me know if that's something you'd be interested in, and I hopefully can do that in the future. But yeah, so I can show you my storage then of the how I color code things and different things like that. So back to the layout again, I have mounted the photo that square photo on the top right, and now I'm mounting the photo of my husband bowling. I have used the tape runner around the edges of the photo, and then I'm using the 3-in-1 in the middle. And the reason I'm doing that is because of the gesso that I use in the background. It has kind of a gritty sand-like texture, and I find that you really need a liquid glue to hold it down. So the tape runner kind of temporarily holds it for the most part while the other liquid glue dries. And I like the 3-in-1 because it has a bit more of a thickness to it, and I think that grabs the gesso page a little bit better. And now I'm just using scraps. I had a bunch of scraps floating around in this paper pad, and I really wanted to get some of them used up. So I'm going to try my best to utilize as many as possible on this page. And the first one is going to be the star paper. I believe this might be from Allie Edwards' kit. It's not from the Snow and Cocoa, but it was stuffed in this notepad, so I'm going to use that. And then you saw me cut out the little oh dear, and I inked around that. And then I'm also going to use some of the little scraps to punch out some tabs. So I just really wanted to try to use up some of these pieces so they're just not floating around. No point in keeping them around. I don't want to throw them away because they're decent sizes, but I don't necessarily want them like falling all over the place constantly either. And I'm also going to tuck a little strip of that kind of blackish brown paper with a white background. I'm also going to use some of that too. So I'm just going through here to see what I can use. And here's the paper that I'm going to punch out a tab with. This is just, I think it's a Jenny Bolin punch. I can't remember. I can't remember whose punch this is. It's a Fisker's, punch, but it was a collaboration with another scrapbooker. I've had this for quite some time. I feel like it's Jenny Bolin, but I'm not sure if that's right. If you have a tab punch like this and you don't want the tab to face a certain direction or you want it to face the opposite direction, just flip the paper over and punch it and then flip it back over, and then the tab is going to sit in a different direction. And the reason why I didn't keep that greenish blue tab is because I have that greenish blue in the background with the ink, and it just blended in too much. So I end up punching the pink because that just helps. You can see it separates from the background a bit more. And then I'm going to tuck that oh dear there. And then I'm going to take that blue one, except I'm going to punch it again so that the tab is on the other side. I'm going to put that up there where I'm working right now. Something that I do off camera and I don't show is I am pulling out some chipboard elements. They are from the Snow and Cocoa line as well, but they're like super, 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 super thick. And because, as I've said before, this album is getting super chunky, I have stripped most of the chipboard off, so it's a bit thinner. It has dimension, but it's a bit thinner. And like I said, I did that off camera, so you'll see that in the photos after the video. So if you're interested in that, it will show up. And then also I stickle a couple of the little cutouts, like so the oh dear, and then I'm also going to be trimming out a little jar here in a second. I had a little bit of like, I think it's like crystal white or white something stickles just to add a little bit of sparkle to the page. And again, you'll see that in the photos at the end. So I'm tucking that piece in here. I just thought it gave a nice contrast. That photo is pretty dark, and I just felt like I needed some kind of darkness there. Plus I have that paper that has the stars, and I thought it would look nice having that darker paper tucked there by the photo to kind of complement that star paper. I just felt like I needed something with that color in it besides just the star area. So I'm going to trim out this little jar because I actually have a little space where that paper had a cutout, and you can see where that cutout is. So I'm going to use this jar to kind of camouflage it so you don't even notice that that has a little cutout there. And then I'm also going to trim out another little piece of that little cut apart sheet and tuck it in as well. So that's about it. I am going to wrap this up. You'll see some photos at the end, and I'll be back with story number 17 really soon. Talk to you guys later. Have a great and wonderful day. Bye, everybody.